The next topic that is money. Okay, we all know what simply money means in a common language. You all understand what money is. But before understanding the technically how money works and what money means, we have to just look back into the barter system. You all must have already heard this term barter system, where it was a system where commodity was changed for a commodity or commodity was exchanged for a commodity. Suppose there is farmer A who has produced rice, there is farmer B who has produced wheat. So he can give him rice and take him wheat, both will have wheat and rice, both the commodities. Okay, this is simply the barter system. But actually it may seem very easy here, but it had many difficulties under it, means many problems existed in the barter system. The first problem and the most prominent problem of the barter system was the double coincidence of wants. See why we have to understand the problem of the barter system in a systematic manner, because these will become the functions of money. So after understanding simply what barter system is, where commodities are exchanged for commodities, now we will have to study the problems of the barter system. The first and most prominent problem of the barter system was the double coincidence of wants. Like take the same example, farmer A has wheat and farmer B has rice. Or you can say that person A has wheat, person B has rice. Now A wants rice. He wants rice, so he approaches B. But B doesn't want wheat. Say B wants milk. Okay, so the exchange of the commodities cannot take place. Now they have to find a person who has milk and wants either wheat or rice. Only then they can complete this transaction. And if they say they find person C having milk, but he wants a leather, so again this creates a problem. This problem is known as lack of double coincidence of wants, or you can simply say that both the parties should be ready to take each other's commodity. Only then the barter exchange can work. Or you can say double coincidence of want is required. Coincidence means there are two coincidences, that A should be willing to take what B is having and B should be willing to take what A is having. So most prominent problem of the barter system. Then the second problem of the barter system was lack of standard measure of value. It means that there was no standard system of measuring the commodities. For example, you can say that commodity A will have one price in terms of B, one terms in terms of commodity C, and then one in terms of commodity D and so on. Say for example, A is say 1 kg of rice, so it is also equal to 2 kg of wheat, or also equal to 1.5 liters of milk, or also equal to say 500 grams of sugar, and so on. Means every commodity has many prices. So it is difficult to remember these many prices, and it is also difficult to compare between the various commodities, that which one is expensive and which one is cheaper. Then the third problem of barter system was lack of divisibility. Lack of divisibility means that some of the commodities cannot be divided. For example, suppose one horse is equal to say 1000 kg of wheat. I need 500 kgs of wheat. Then I cannot sell half of the horse. Not possible. Some of the commodities could not be divided. Then another problem of barter system was lack of standard for deferred payments. Deferred payments means the future payments. Okay, there was no standard for the future payment. For example, or you can say credit. Credit was discouraged. For example, person A took say 10 kg of rice from a person B on credit and promised to pay or return back 12 kg of rice after say 1 year. So simply we can see that 2 kg is the interest which he has to pay for this credit. But what may happen that this person might take good quality rice from person B, and when he returns 12 kg of rice but of some lower quality or bad quality. So it means that there is no standard for a deferred payment. Simply you can say that I take a car on loan for the loan is for 5 years. After 5 years I return back the car, don't pay any money. Okay, it means taking a car and giving back the same car. So you can understand that no company will allow such type of credit. So this was missing here, or credit was discouraged. And credit is very important for the economic development that you have already studied in class 11th, and of lately you can understand that credit is very important for the businesses, for the household to develop. So this was another problem, that there was no standard for the deferred payment. Then next problem of the barter was, or the barter system was, lack of store of value. Store of value means if you want to become rich, then what commodity to collect, right? You don't know what commodity will hold the value in future. Like for example, suppose you say, okay, I will collect the potatoes. You collected a huge amount of potatoes, but after some time what happens? They become rotten, or they might lose their value. Okay, so suppose you own a huge a big cattle. Okay, say you have large amount of sheep, goats, all the fellows, cows belonging to a cattle, and you are rich at that time, but after some time what will happen? All of them would die and become sick. So again you will become poor. So again there is a lack of the store of wealth or store of value. You cannot become rich under the barter system. Okay, these are the basic problems. One more problem which is also associated with the barter system is it discourages specialization. Specialization you already understand. In business studies you study, and in commerce also you, or in the daily life also you have already understood what is specialization. A person becoming perfect in a particular job. But under barter system this was not possible. Like for example, a person like say me, I am economics teacher. Okay, but if it would be a barter system, then I will have to work as the plumber also for myself, as a say gardener also, as an electrician also, as a carpenter also. Most of the things the same person will have to do. So he cannot specialize himself in a certain profession, or you can say you will have lack of the efficient workers under the barter system. Okay, so these problems of barter system are very important to understand because they become the functions of money, and once you have understood the barter in a decent manner, you can understand the chapter of money very easily. Now we will come on to the discussion of the money. What money is? Actually money, if you say in a common language, you will say it is currency, note and coin. But actually it is not so. Money is defined as anything which can act as a medium of exchange, is generally acceptable, and the modern characteristic is it is backed by the authority. Okay, anything which can act as a medium of exchange is generally acceptable and is backed by the authority. See, money simply means anything which I can use to buy or sell something. If I sell something, I can accept that commodity, and if I am buying something, in return I can give that particular commodity. Like if you talk about the traditional or evolution of money, actually the concept of money is a very old concept, because when the people faced problem of the barter system, they thought over it and they tried to solve that problem as per their resources. So our tribals, our kingdoms, they had their own ways of dealing with the problem, or you can say that they had different forms of money. Like in the initial period, the first thing was the commodity money. Means the first thing used as a money came as a commodity money, where the items like say seashells, cattle, gems and jewelries, diamonds, spices or food crops, they were used as money. Like for example, if you are living in a certain kingdom where cattle is used as money, so you can buy anything by giving the payment in form of cattle. So that is cattle used as money. So simply anything which can act as money and is generally acceptable. Generally acceptable means that no one denies the acceptance of that particular commodity is termed as money. So this was the first type of money, that was the commodity money. But again it had certain problems, because again these commodities are perishable, or if they are durable, they have their own limitations. This topic actually we are talking about the evolution of money, how money has evolved, what stages the money has faced when it has reached to the modern extent. So, and secondly we had the gold and silver coins being used as money. First commodity money, then many kings started the use of gold and silver coins in their kingdom as money. But again these metals being used as coins had certain problem. The basic problem was that their concentric value, you have to remember this term, concentric value, or it is their metal value or material value, was more than their face value. So you can just take an example of a 5 rupee gold coin. If you take it to the market, it will be exchanged only for rupees 5. Right? But if you happen to melt that coin at your home and you extract gold out of it, maybe the value of that gold is 7,000 rupees. Okay, so this is what the people used to do. Okay, instead of using that currency in the economy, what they would do is they would melt that currency and extract the expensive metals from out of that particular currency. One more problem was that these metals were limited in their availability. They were not in abundance. Like already you know that gold and silver are expensive. Why they are expensive? Because the supply is less or the availability is less. So after all these things came the modern form of money, which we see now. Okay, the third stage in the money's life was the modern form of, or is the modern form of money, or you call it as currency, that is in the form of note and coin. Now you have to understand that these notes and coins are satisfying all the three characteristics or the essentials of the definition. They can act as a medium of exchange. You can buy and sell commodities by exchanging the currency, notes or coins. Means all payments can be made in terms of money. Generally acceptable means that it will not be denied. But just understand, here I am writing generally acceptable, not universally acceptable. Means it may be denied in some part of the world. Like for example, Indian rupee will not be accepted in some foreign country, say US or Australia or any other country. There you will not, no one will accept the Indian rupee. So that's why it is generally acceptable. Generally acceptable means within the economy it will be acceptable. And backed by the authority will be the government or the central bank. That is the Reserve Bank of India, that is RBI. So in a currency note, whatever things you see, whatever characteristics are present there, out of them the most important one is the backing of the RBI. Like you are already aware of the demonetization taking place in India. So demonetization is a technical term where the authority denies to back the currency. Means the authority has said that now we will not back the currency note, like 500 and 1000 rupee currency note was withdrawn by the government, or its authority was taken back by the government. So in the modern form of coins and notes, what the main characteristic is that their concentric value is much less than their face value. Means it will solve that problem where the public might keep it with itself. For example, if you take a 500 rupee note in the market, it will work for 500, but if you take the paper, it is worthless. Okay, maybe 50 paisa or maybe 2 rupee, the ink, paper, everything. So it means that this modern form of money solves most of the problems of the initial stages of money. And now we will also move on and discuss how it solves the problems of the barter system. But one more stage in money's life is the bank money. That is the most modern. Bank money means that without even involving the currency, you can do a transaction. For example, you go to a showroom to buy something and swipe your debit card or credit card. So that is also a form of money. It is also being accepted as a medium of exchange, and it is backed by that particular commercial bank. Suppose you have the SBI debit card, so it means SBI is backing it. Okay, so these are 4 important stages of the evolution of money, and the definition of money will include these 3 terms. That is, anything which is acceptable as medium of exchange, is generally acceptable and is backed by a authority. Okay, next we will move on to the functions of money. As I told you that the problems of the barter system become the functions of money. Functions of money can be broadly classified into 2 categories: primary functions and secondary functions. Primary means these are the basic functions. For anything to be called as money, these should be present, and these are the additive functions. First primary function is that it should act as a medium of exchange. Medium of exchange means that it is acceptable in return of the commodities. And how it solves which problem? It solves the problem of double coincidence of wants required under the barter system by dividing the transaction into 2 parts: sale and purchase. Okay, you can simply understand. Suppose say I want to sell my bike and I want to buy a car. So it is not like this that I have to find a person who has a car and wants a bike. I simply sell my bike to anybody who needs a bike, and I can buy a car from anybody who is selling a car. When I sell the bike, I accept the money, accept the payment in terms of money, and when I buy the car, then also I pay in terms of money. Now whatever these people are needing, they can also buy the commodity by paying the money. So this eliminates the which problem of barter system? The double coincidence of wants. Okay, question can be framed like this also, that how does money solve the problem of double coincidence of wants? Or it can simply be asked, explain the medium of exchange function of money. Then you have to write the same thing, that this was the problem of barter system and money solves it by breaking the transaction into sale and purchase. This is the most important function of money, that it should act as a medium of exchange. Then the next function is that it is a common measure of value. Or we can also call it as unit of account. Means the value of all the commodities, all the things will be measured in terms of money. Like you have the price for each and every commodity, and price is always in terms of money. Why it is being called as unit of account? Because all the accounts are maintained in terms of money. Like if you go through the balance sheet or any trading account or any other account of any firm or an individual or your bank account even, it is also maintained in terms of money. So it is also the unit of account and a common measure of value. Here you will need to mention that the value of all commodities can be measured in terms of money. Okay, so these are the two primary functions which have to be present in a particular thing to let it be called as money, or you can say that only then it can be called as money. Now the secondary functions. First secondary function is, it is the store of value. It can act as a store of value. Means you, if you want to become rich, simply you have to collect what? You have to collect the money. Accumulation of wealth is easy. You can accumulate wealth in the form of money. And why? Because it has a stable value, is durable. Durable means it is forever. If in a bank account you have kept the money, maybe the currency becomes as much old as it can be, but it will have a stable value. The value of your bank account or the balance will remain the same. Many of you would think that inflation will lead to fall in the value of money, but generally it remains stable as compared to all other commodities. So if you are asked to explain this, then you have to simply write that money acts as a store of value where wealth can be accumulated in the form of money because its value generally remains stable and it is a durable commodity, doesn't get spoiled. Okay, then next is, it is a standard for deferred payments. Okay, as we have already done, they are the future payments or the credit. Remember, the problem in the barter was that a person takes a good quality commodity from me and returns a bad quality commodity, but it cannot happen after coming of the money, because you will take credit in form of money and you return the credit in form of money. Like if, for example, if you want to buy a car on loan, the bank will give you money. Okay, and you buy a car out of it, and when you return to the bank, you return the money. Do not return back the car after 5 years. Okay, so this is, if this function is asked, then again you have to mention that it acts as a standard for the payments to be taken in credit in form of money and returned also in the form of money along with the interest, and it encourages the credit or promotes the credit in the economy. Then another function is that it is a transfer of value. Transfer of value means transfer of purchasing power. Purchasing power can be transferred by simply transferring the money, or suppose your parents want you to pay the fee of the school, they will simply give you the money and you can go and pay the fee. So transfer of value is easy. But now suppose you think of a time when, say, goats or cattle were used as money. So school fee would be in form of, say, 20 goats. So you have to carry 20 goats to the school. So that becomes a little difficult. Transfer of value is easy under the form of money. Simply transferring the currency will transfer the value. So these are the basic functions of money. And a question for 3 to 4 marks can be framed, or it is bound to come, one of the functions is bound to come from the chapter money. Okay, then the next topic of discussion is money supply. Just understand the meaning of money supply. Money supply means the stock of money. Okay, money supply is defined as the stock of money held by the public of an economy at a point of time. Remember, we have already done stock and flow variable, where stock is always measured at a point of time. So you can simply say, just understand that you can say that suppose say 100 million rupee are held by the public of India on say the 15th of March 2017. Okay, so it means that it is the money which total amount of money which the public is having at a certain point of time in an economy. So when you have to define money supply, you will define it as the stock of money held by the public of an economy at a given point of time. Now see, there are certain measures of measuring this money supply, or you can say there are various ways of measuring the money supply, that what is the money supply of an economy. That is the measures of money supply. There are four measures of or you can say four ways of measuring the money supply. They range from M1, M2, M3 to M4. Remember, when we move from M1 to M4, the liquidity will decrease and the magnitude will increase. Magnitude means the value. First understand what is meant by liquidity. Liquidity means the ability of this money to be converted into goods and services, or you can say that what is the capacity of that money to buy the commodities. Liquidity, if you are a commerce student, you must know what is liquidity, you must be knowing. It is the ability of a conversion of a particular commodity into cash, or cash into some particular commodity. So liquidity will decrease and magnitude will increase. Magnitude means value. Suppose value of M1 is 100, so this will be 120, this will be 140, this will be 160. In M1, we include cash held by the public, demand deposit held by the public, and OD. Or you can say M1 includes CC, DD and OD. Here CC means the currency held by the public, means the cash in form of notes and coins. DD means demand deposit. Demand deposit is the money which you can withdraw at any point of time, that you have deposited into a bank, like the money into your saving bank account, which can be withdrawn at any point of time. While the opposite of demand deposit is term deposit, which can be withdrawn only after a certain period of time, like a fixed deposit or a recurring deposit. And OD here means other deposits. Other deposits means the deposits held by the RBI from the organizations like IMF, like the World Bank, or maybe the government of that particular economy, or any government agency which is depositing its money with the RBI, because they can also at any point of time withdraw this money and use it in the economy. Okay, so three main components of M1 are currency, note and coin, that is note and coin held by the public, DD, that is demand deposit. Again I am repeating, demand deposit is the deposit in the bank which can be withdrawn at any point of time. There is no restriction on withdrawing it. And OD is other deposits, which means the deposits of the various agencies kept with the RBI. This is the most liquid form of money supply. The next approach to money supply is M2. M2 means M1 plus the saving with post office. Okay, means all the three components of M1 and along with them the saving with the post office. You must be knowing that the people in India, they can deposit their money with the post office as well, or you can open an account with the post office as well. But there is certain limitation of this account in the post office. Say for example, you will not get a checkbook. Means you cannot pay anybody through that particular account. You do not get any ATM card. Okay, there is a limitation, you cannot do online banking. Like if it is a demand deposit kept in a bank, then you can use it even at 12 o'clock midnight, because there are sources where it can be accessed. But with this post office saving, there is a restriction that only in the working hours of the post office you can go and withdraw the cash, and then you can use that cash. But you cannot pay anybody directly, like maybe through a checkbook. So it means that the liquidity has decreased. Then next is M3 approach. that is M1 plus the term deposits. Term deposit means the fixed deposits, all the deposits which can be withdrawn only after a certain period of time. Like suppose a FD is going to be matured after 2 years, so that is also included. But actually now the liquidity will be lesser because that money can be used only after 2 years. It cannot be withdrawn at this point of time. So we can see that as we are moving from M1 to M2 to M3, the liquidity continuously decreases and magnitude will keep on increasing because more things are being added. Then the last and the money is a measure which is having the maximum magnitude is M4. That is M1 plus term deposits. Sorry. M1 plus the term deposits. Okay, so it means that it includes all the four: M1, M2, M3 and the term deposit. Like you can see in M3 we had M1 and term deposits. Then in M2 we had M1 and the post office deposits. So when I say M1, it means already I am including the post office deposits and I also include the term deposits.